Israel itself, shall we? Neil is in Tel Aviv. You're a reserve in the military, I understand, Neil.
Yes, that's correct. I've just been listening to a lot of these conspiracy theories about this Greater Israel project. As an Israeli myself, this is all news to us. We generally don't understand what this means. As history has told us, the only way Israel has had peace through our neighbours, for example, Egypt and Jordan, is when we had to give land back to them through a defence measure. So I don't know how we can be a Greater Israel project when we're about the size of Wales. As a Jew, I don't even know what that means.
I suppose, Neil, just because obviously lots of listeners won't be conversant in this idea, and indeed, like you say yourself, a lot of Israelis will be taken surprised by. I mean, this is the idea. Right? I mean, the reason I think that it's obviously had some legs beyond just conspiracy theories is that, you know, senior members of the Israeli government have said that they believe in it. I mean, obviously, in particular, Bezalel Smotrich has said, you know, as far back as 2023, he didn't use the term Great Israel, but he gave a speech from a podium showing a map that included the West Bank and Jordan. That is widely recognised as a depiction of Greater Israel. The same speech, he said there's no such thing as the Palestinian people, and he's endorsed ideas that Israel's border should expand significantly. Indeed, in one account, within one account, that includes southern Lebanon. So it's coming from Israeli government ministers. It's not just at the fringe corners of the internet.
Yes, they're coming from, unfortunately, extremists.
Yes.
And in every society, even the British society, I'm sure we have a lot of racists that want to kick out all the immigrants.
Yeah, but this guy, I agree, Neil. But to be fair, this guy isn't just like on some forum. He's the equivalent of Rachel Reeves. He's the finance minister.
Well, because we're in the war right now, they don't have any real say on our war mechanisms. So in terms of what they say, it's empty words. Wow. It's not something that we actually want.
But there are illegal settlements going on. And Neil, I'm the first one saying I think it's such an important point that needs to be hammered home again, that like the Netanyahu government is not Israel, that there's lots of, it's a democracy, there are lots of different opinions. But it is true to say that this government, I don't think it's true that it's just empty words, because under this government, we are seeing the practical effect of it. There's illegal settlement going on in the West Bank. We're seeing what's going on at the moment. So it's not just empty words, is it?
So, like the legal settlement, again, it is a very grey area, because unfortunately there has been a lot of history where a lot of Jewish land has been in the West Bank. A lot of farmers, a lot of historical content has been in the West Bank. For example, Hebron is a huge historical landmark in Israel. So that is a very grey area.
But if we're going to play that game, Neil, the Palestinians listening to this will be like, well, historically it's Arab land. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of contestation, isn't it?
That's why we do want a two-state solution, because both parts, we have historical significance in that land. And unfortunately, when you have one side that wants to completely eradicate the other side, how can you have peace when you have a group of people that completely wants to wipe us off the map? Yes, we're not perfect, but unfortunately we are surrounded by wolves, and we have no other opportunities to defend ourselves. You've got the Iranian regime. We said for 40 years they're going to build a nuclear bomb. They're going to build a nuclear bomb, and everyone laughed at us. Everyone said we're conspiracy theories. And what happened in 2012? We had the Iran deal with the US, and the deal was a 3.6 enrichment. BB said, give them an inch, they can run a mile with it. And look what we found. We found 60%. This is not conspiracy theory. This is black and white. We found 60% of enrichment. You need 80% to build a nuclear bomb.
But Bibi has been warning about it for 20 years. Bibi, if we listen to Netanyahu, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon before the turn of the millennium.
No, we said they are going to build a nuclear bomb. We don't know when, but it's going to be close. And as soon as they had the Iranian deal, we said on the stage in 2020, they are going to build a nuclear bomb. And it's black and white. This is not subjective. This is objective.
But Netanyahu said that he'd obliterated them 9 months ago. This is the problem, Neil. This is the problem, Neil.
He did not say that.
He did say that.
That was Trump.
Netanyahu also said that they had crippled, that there would be no Iranian nuclear weapon. And then 9 months later, he turns around and says, no, we need this all-out war. And anyway, if that's the case, if it's all about the Iranian nuclear deal, then that's nothing to do with Lebanon, is it?
Yes, we're talking about Hezbollah or Lebanon.
Well, Hezbollah. I've got to go to the news, Neil, but I just wanted to ask you a question before. You said you were a reservist in the military. If you were sent to called up to go and serve in southern Lebanon, would you?
Yes, 100%, 110%.
And you don't have any qualms or worries about the massive civilian death toll that's taking place?
Well, but that is war for you. War is horrible. War is disgusting. What do you expect Israel just to not evacuate the civilians and let them stay there whilst Hezbollah fight between the civilians? What do you expect us to do? Do you think you expect us just to stand on our borders and put our hands in the air? No, we have to do an evacuation zone, just like what we did in Syria.
A million people? I'd love to continue this conversation, Neil, and Tel Aviv, but I can't go to the news, so apologies for that, but grateful for hear the passion in your voice, for sure. We're going to be talking to Ayala Panievsky, as promised, who is a real expert in Israeli politics, to try and get more insight into exactly the dynamics of the coalition. A little bit later, the news, 10:34 with Dominic Ellis is in Jerusalem. Jake, good morning or good afternoon where you are.
Good morning, Lewis. You're having this afternoon already. There's something very incongruent, I've noticed, with Iran's official stance. Because for decades, they've claimed that they don't support terror, that they don't fund Hezbollah.
Well, that's a lie, of course.
And now, suddenly, they're jumping up and saying, hey, you're bombing us in Lebanon. What? So they're now admitting that Hezbollah's affiliated with them?
Yeah, well, it turns out the Iranians lie.
We can't trust the word they say. Yeah,
it turns out the Iranians lie, yeah.
They lie every time they speak, basically, yeah. So if Hezbollah, so if Iran says that South Lebanon was part of the ceasefire, and Trump says that it wasn't. I mean, Trump probably lied just a bit less than Iran. So, I mean, we don't know what the truth is, but Iran probably, Iran are probably in the wrong. That's safe to assume. And, regarding the actual issue,
two things can be true. Two things can be true at once, can't they, Jay? It can be true to say that the Iranians. Or they, as we were discussing yesterday, it's also possible that it was, as Lord Ricketts was telling us, the deal was cobbled together so quickly that it's entirely possible that they both understood something to be true that wasn't. But also, it can also be true to say that Iran lies all the time, but it's also can be true to say that what Israel is currently doing in southern Lebanon isn't a very good idea.
So, the truth is, I don't see, and I've served in the Israeli army, I have a lot of friends who've done it too, and we all agree there's no way that Israel can withdraw military presence from south of the Litany River. I don't know if you're familiar with the geography there, but the Litany River is basically a natural barrier between Lebanon and the actual border strip of Lebanon that's adjacent to Israel.
Yes.
Now, for the past decade, Hezbollah put their Radwan force, which consists of 50,000 armed men, right on the border. They crossed the river, and they had mobilized, they had howitzers, they had every...
we should just say that everything south of the Litany River, includes the city of Tyre, and of course that is all Lebanese sovereign territory.
What does Lebanese sovereign territory mean? The Lebanese parliament wants to abolish Islam, and they're not.
What it means...
Slow down. Who's in control of Tyre? Not the Lebanese government.
No, but Jake, you asked
who's in control of it? Hezbollah.
Yes.
So Israel's basically doing Lebanon a favour. They're going bombing the...
You think they're doing Lebanon a favour right now by displacing 1 million of their citizens?
The citizens are anyway conquered. The citizens anyway aren't under control of the Lebanese government.
Jake, we spoke to a doctor yesterday, a British Lebanese doctor. His family live in southern Lebanon. They're not conquered. One is a retired doctor himself and his wife. They were living perfectly peacefully, perfectly contentedly, and now they're on the verge of being displaced from their homes. They've been displaced before by Israeli military activity. They weren't. I think with respect, you could argue you're being a little bit blasé about the fate of 1 million people.
Okay, I can't really discuss anecdotes, but we all know that Hezbollah has been killing Christians in... the Christian population in Lebanon has literally...
All right, Jake. Let's not discuss anecdotes. Let's talk about the fact that the UN Refugee Agency has said that 600 children have been killed over the course of the last week as a result of Israeli action.
Is that the same UN Refugee Agency that changed the definition of famine to decide...
Are you really doubting? Are you really doubting that children have been killed as a result of Israeli action?
Why should I believe a word of the UN Refugee Agency, which for years were telling Israel to stop the blockade on Gaza, which by the way means stop doing security checks...
And tens of thousands and thousands of innocents died. No, stop it. Jake, stop telling me to slow down because you're spreading lies on the national radio, right? So stop it. I'm telling you now, 1 million people, as we know, let's just discuss the facts here. 1 million people, according to multiple international, respected, multinational charities and agencies, have confirmed 1 million people have been displaced as a result of Israeli action. Now, you might say that action is justified, but you cannot deny that displacement has taken place.
Okay, if you believe them, I'm not going to convince you that what they're saying isn't true, yeah? Besides the fact, I just want to say that these are the same agencies which for years told Israel, don't blockade Gaza. What does that mean, not blockading Gaza? That means that...
Well, it means maybe don't starve Gazans.
That means that Hamas could bring in semi-trailers filled with Kalashnikovs.
It means don't starve Gazans. How about don't starve Gazans?
But, what
innocent Gazans. Well, don't starve them. Don't starve them. It's very simple. Don't starve them.
But Lewis, not starving them also means investing Kalashnikovs. So what would you do?
Well, first of all, there's no evidence for that because including the UN Food Agency, the UN Food Agency is not going to allow Kalashnikovs into Gaza.
No, that's a stupid... How would you stop it?
Some people might say...
Anyway.
Well, the Israelis...
Oh my God! Wait, let's think about it. Think about this logically.
You are radicalised, my friend. I'm afraid you are absolutely radicalised. You talk about death. Sorry, Jake. You talk about death. You talk about death as if it's the easiest thing. You sort of just wipe flash the magic wand.
They die rather than I die.
Right?
Isn't that not logical?
No. It's about proportion, isn't it, Jake? It's about proportion. You are supposed to represent. You fought in the army.
Slow down. My men are let my 5-year-old niece die because it's disproportionate to protect her.
Well, so you're going to starve thousands of people. Starve thousands of people. You fought in the army. You fought in the army of a state that purports to be a democratic jewel in the Middle East. And yet you are sat here and you've said 1 million people, well, they've been displaced, they've been conquered anyway, never mind. And then you turn around to me, and when I've put to you that the Israeli government have been part of an effort and have led to people either starving or being killed, thousands of civilians, 600 children in southern Lebanon, your response is what?
And you know what, Louis? The first Gazan who comes up to me with a head of a Hamas member, I give him a hug. I give him a complimentary home in Jerusalem. Let's find one.
So your argument is that they won't be killed and children won't be killed as long as they bring me the beheaded head of a Hamas soldier. That's the price, is it?
If they deal with Hamas themselves, I'd be glad to leave them in peace. But for 20 years, they haven't managed.
And so until they do, these civilians who, by your own admission, I would imagine, are being oppressed by Hamas, until such time as these old ladies and these kids rise up and get rid of this armed, horrendous insurgent group, your response is we have no moral responsibility towards those children.
I certainly have more of a responsibility to my own children than to theirs. That's just a basic... Whoever doesn't understand the concept of, a nation state.
Israel is supposed to behave better, isn't it, than the terrorist group that attack it and afflict it?
Could you give me like a definition of what better means? Better
following international law, following international humanitarian law, not letting people starve, not killing kids, not just being disproportionate. No, Jake, you're asking me a question, and I'm going to give you an answer. So don't just then go, slow down. Let me give you the answer. Following international humanitarian law, not starving people, allowing humanitarian aid in, not cutting off energy and crucial supplies, and not acting disproportionately by forcing the displacement of 8 million people. As part of a war, by the way, where you have been rinsing and repeating the same tactics of bombing, say, Hezbollah to kingdom come. And guess what? It never works. You know why? Because you radicalise a whole new generation of kids to hate your government.
That's not true. It does work. Thank God.
In which case, why does Hezbollah still exist?
We haven't had a repeat of October 7 in the north because we bombed the heck out of them, and I hope they do it
You were
again.
fighting them in 2006, and you're still fighting them now.
And that's why it didn't happen in 2006. You see, for us...
They were attacking you in 2006.
Yeah, but they didn't do it on October 7 because we bombed them.
Well, they attacked you after October the 7th. They did.
Yeah, but thank God not that many of us died because they were scared of us, because they've been degraded, and because we keep degrading them.
All right, Jake, we've had a spirited exchange, and you know what? I want the same things as you do. I want Israelis to sleep safe, Israeli kids to sleep safe in their bed at night. My worry is with the kind of radicalised view, which I'm afraid you haven't, and frankly, a completely dehumanised view with regard to other human life, that frankly, all that happens is that you are making sure that your kids, the generation that follows you, will end up not sleeping safely in their beds, because the violence just creates more violence, which creates more violence, and dehumanised views of human life leads to other people having a dehumanised view of you. Time is 11:03.